Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
I can be extremely passionate about business without being passionate about the exact service of that work. And I think we get too caught up in that because I believe that every single business owner that has people working in it is in a unique position to make a positive impact on the people around them.
What is good, Millionaire University Nation? I am Brien Gearin, saddling up with you today on this finest, freshest, newest episode of the Millionaire University podcast. And today I am super excited to introduce our guest to you. His name is Brett Baker. He owns VA USA, where they focus on helping military spouses find fulfillment and find work and do incredible things as virtual assistants for business owners of all stripes, whether they are C-suite executives, nonprofit owners, or small business owners. And this episode may be a little bit different than our typical episodes here at MU. We're going to talk a lot about VA USA and the great things that Brett does and everything that goes into running a VA type of company. But we also delve into entrepreneurship for veterans. And it honestly kind of turned into a conversation on mindset and positivity and doing all the incredible things you want to do in life, but having the right mindset to go out and do it. So without further ado, let's welcome to the classroom, Brett Baker. Let's jump right in and I'll see you on the other side. Here we go. Brett, first of all, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. And I'm super stoked because you are an Army veteran. I'm going to let you do your origin story because you're going to do it way better than me, but I'm in awe of the service that you provided to us in this country. So first of all, I feel like a lot of times when people say thank you for your service, the reply is usually, I'm not sure how to reply to that. But I think I was talking with a veteran last week and I said, how about I said, we appreciate what you've done for your country and the sacrifices you made. So I will throw that your way. And why don't we kick it off? Let's get a little bit of the origin story about Brett Baker, your time in the military. And then we're going to talk about VA USA, where you specialize in providing virtual assistant services for typically small, medium-sized businesses, right, with military spouses. So really cool story. I'm excited to dive in with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thank you for the kind words. The origin is based off our experience. So I spent over 12 years with 1st Ranger Battalion. I got medically retired in 2019. But to take you back to 2017, where this whole thing came together, my wife was an elementary school teacher. We had been through, I think, about 6 or 7 deployments by then, and we had 2 young kids. And so for her, much like many military spouses when the war was going on, she lived very much a single mom life. I was gone for about 4 months out of every year deployed, 3-4 months away, various places training. So it's up to her to hold the family together, and she's just reacting to what the military is throwing at us. And we hit this point where both of our kids were in daycare, and her entire teacher's salary was going just to pay for that daycare. So we weren't making any financial gains. She's dropping the kids off before the sun comes up, picking them up before the sun goes down. And she felt like she wasn't fulfilling all of her roles and she was very burnt out. And we were just looking for something to pivot into that would bring some balance into our lives. And our story is not unique. This is the struggles that military spouses face all across the country. But her last year of teaching, her room mom was a virtual assistant. And this isn't something we'd ever heard of before, but she noticed like, hey, this lady's always here showing up. She's always available to come to all the stuff. How is that? And so they sparked up a friendship, and throughout the year, they talked about what she did. And by the end of the year, she was ready to give it a shot. We knew we could always go back to teaching, but we thought maybe this working from home, bringing our kids home might bring some balance to our lives. And so we did. Very quickly, she was supporting 3 business owners, working full-time hours. And man, there was a palpable difference in my home and the stress level. And she was just really thriving, learning businesses, helping them excel. And it was a really good fit. It was an answered prayer to the need that we had. And it wasn't long before we felt God calling us to share that opportunity with other people in our life situation. So back then, as it is now, the military spouse unemployment rate is at 21%. So there's a huge need for jobs, and this is a remote job that they can take wherever the service member moves them, which is their biggest impediment to finding employment. So it just made sense in our heads. We called her best friend, another Ranger wife, and we said, hey, we want to teach folks to do what we're doing. Do you want to jump on board and build this thing with us? And she did. So we gave her a client. We went out and found another client, found another military spouse, and then we just started building the company slowly and organically from there. And there was a bit of a journey along the way. So during this time, I was in the process of a med board and everything kind of lined up. I had my final knee surgery and I got 30 days of convalescence leave right as we were kicking the business off. So all of the groundwork and getting everything set up, that was all in a time where I was home to help as well. So it just kind of worked well. And then from there, it's been 6 years of just learning and growing how to run businesses, failing, learning lessons, and trying to make the best impact that we can. And so the way the business looks today is we serve business owners, C-level executives, and executive directors of nonprofits. And the crux of what we do is that administrative support. And COVID did a great job of educating our client base. Prior to COVID, a lot of people didn't fully understand, how does this remote world work? How can someone do this work but not be in-house? And COVID really educated them, and COVID was an interesting time in our business. But our mission is to create meaningful jobs in community for military spouses. And a common story that we get is, hey, I just moved to Fort Drum, New York. There's no jobs here. I don't know a single person here. I have 2 kids, and my husband just left for 6 months. So we saw this community piece very early on. It was both, how do we build community for these folks where they are, and then how do we build community within this business? And that's evolved by numerous different things. But one of the driving factors, one of the eye-opening things for us was we joined an organization called C12 when we were very young. And C12 is a Christian peer advisory group. It's CEOs that come together and they study curriculum and they share best practices and struggles. And we knew early on, we didn't know much about business. I'm a gunfighter, she's a teacher, so we need to get around people who have been doing this. It can be those wise guides for us. And one of the things that they talk about is this thing called a caring matrix. And it's basically different kind of programs you can create in your business to care for your people. And from the very beginning, we started this little outreach program. And at first it was just, let's love on our people, let's celebrate the birthdays. But this caring matrix really clicked in our head and we just went all in. So the way the caring matrix looks today is we have chaplaincy, just like we had in the military. So that chaplain's job is to come walk alongside of our team members through the storms of life. So the marital challenges, the parenting challenges, all the other things that go on. And she's that wise mentor who has done this with thousands of other employees and other businesses. We use an organization called Corporate Chaplains of America. And man, that was a really influential move that we did in our business. And as soon as we started doing it, it made sense to me. It's like I had a chaplain my entire time in the military. So we have chaplaincy. And then our outreach department runs a number of different programs. So we're a faith-driven company. We do Bible studies. No one has to come to the Bible study, but it's there. We send people on marriage retreats. We send cleaners and meal trains to their houses when the service members deployed. A number of different initiatives that we're trying to work in, because what we believe is that we are uniquely positioned to pour into young military families to try to prevent the statistics that we all hear about with the divorce rate and the suicidality and all of the other things. These military families, they face the same struggles the rest of us do, but everything is exacerbated by their circumstances of constantly moving, constantly being reactive. And what many people don't understand is that these lower ranking service members are living at the poverty line and some of them below it. So it's very common for these young active duty service members to be on some sort of financial programs. And then you mix in there, the spouse is having trouble working because she's moving all the time. Maybe they have some young kids. So for us, this remote, a lot of it is part-time, was a great fit. And we felt like, hey, we're in this position to really try to pour into these people. And what we believe is that this business is here to build our people. Our people aren't here to build the business. And so that's our mission. That's the impact that we're trying to make. We're trying to provide the best service that we possibly can so that customers, these business owners, can really thrive. But at the same time, how are we taking care of our people and how are we pouring into them? That's the greater purpose. That's the mission. And that's why this organization exists. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what's given me purpose in my transition into the civilian workforce. It's helped prevent some of the stumbling blocks that a lot of veterans hit when they leave the service, trying to figure out what's that next thing I'm going to pursue, I'm going to devote my life to. Well, this is it. It's given me an amazing purpose. And I'd like to add in there, I could talk a lot about how entrepreneurship has made me a better man in many different aspects. But one of the things that it did that we didn't see coming was it created an unbelievable partnership between my wife and I that we would have never experienced had we not started this business together. When we were in the military, we were very much two ships passing in the night. It was all reactive to what it was throwing at us. We weren't setting goals. We weren't vision casting. We struggled to have healthy financial conversations for years, but the business was a forcing function for us to get on the same page with all aspects of our life, really dream together, really cast that vision, and then work together to accomplish that goal. And that has been just an amazingly powerful thing in my marriage.
I love that. What an awesome story. And it's pretty clear that VA USA, you guys do so much more than just be a business, right? Or provide the ability for someone to be employed. You guys are doing so much more than that. And I think that's incredibly admirable and very cool. So I kind of want to dive a little deeper into the business side of this. And first of all, kudos to you and your wife. I love your last statement there of that it brought you guys closer in so many different ways, but business kind of forced that. Because as entrepreneurs and as business owners, it's going to do that, right? Like business is going to happen and you have to be able to be there to handle it. And what an even better way to be able to do it with your wife as well. So that's very cool. All right. So you guys provide all sorts of opportunity for a population of folks who, like you said, it's nearly impossible to find regular employment that is either going to stick or that could be enjoyable. So this VA route, it seems like just the absolute perfect fit. What are the types of opportunities for a military spouse that can arise from a VA position? You mentioned a couple of different areas, C-suite, nonprofit, small business owners. Do you have some examples of some of the things that your VAs do and who they do them for?
Yeah, a VA can mean a lot of different things. Now, the bread and butter is no question, it's just the admin support. So, we excel in support roles. So the most basic versions of your administrative support would be email management. So all of the communications, you are the funnel piece. So the business owner is only seeing the pertinent information and his time is being protected and it's being organized. So when I go into my email, I'm not checking 70 different emails. I go to one folder and that's the stuff that I need to see, that I need to action. So I'm not getting lost in there. So that email management, keeping up all those communications, calendar management, all of the scheduling, deconflicting, both personal and business, because a lot of these times, for most entrepreneurs, it kind of rolls over, your personal and business life gets very muddied, so to speak. CRM management would be another huge one for us. Anyone running CRMs out there, which most businesses are, setting it up, running it, keeping all the data in there, so that's the basic admin, traditional stuff that you would think. We do a lot of marketing support. So we're not here to run marketing for you, but we are here to do all of the support in the marketing role. So are you answering people when they're commenting on your LinkedIn? Are you corresponding with them? Like, are you keeping up with all of that stuff? It's all of this little stuff that starts piling up when we have this vision for our business and we start building it. It's like, we want to go do this, but we forget about all of the other things that get piled on top of us as we're attempting to run the main functions of the business. And we do some finance support, bookkeeping, and those types of roles. So those basic administrative functions are really our bread and butter. And it can vary. It can go down some different avenues. When we sit down with a client, we build a very specific job description based off of that role. What are your specific needs? And so there can be some project management, some task management. I need task management. I have a lot of to-dos and I will just not do a bunch of them. So I need somebody that's helping me. Hey, today we have to get these things done. Tomorrow we can get some of that other stuff done, but this is the important stuff. Are we doing the most important things with our time? That's just that person to help keep you on track. And then from there, people have kind of gotten creative with it, but we are industry agnostic. I have everything from entertainers to construction companies to consultants. We have not niched down into one industry, and I've been pretty happy about that. I like serving these different industries, and we love working with nonprofits. It's any company, organization, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, that has a bigger purpose than their product or service. And we always love working with those companies because we want to see them excel. And I find that it gives my people a little more purpose to what they're doing when they know that this organization is trying to have a greater impact beyond that product or service. Those are great companies, and I wish we'd see more of them out there.
Absolutely. So how many people can one of your VAs help? Like, how does that break down? Is it kind of up to the VA and the amount of hours they want to work, or how does that look for them?
It depends, but so we have a minimum. We charge in blocks of time, and the least amount of time that we personally will allow is a 60-hour block a month, all right? So you figure about 15 hours a week. Other companies probably do smaller blocks out there. We explored that for a while, and it's not a path we wanted to continue down because I need to create a real job. A lot of people out there, they may need 10, 20 hours a month, but then that one VA is having to bring on multiple clients. Then I'm managing multiple relationships. And for us, it just worked out better. We wanted larger chunks of time, and we started moving to more established businesses that are a little bigger, a little higher revenue. And that's where we fit in. But that 60-hour mark a month is kind of the minimum. And what you find is a lot of business owners get used to full-time equivalents in their business. But for the most part, you don't need someone full-time for most businesses to support that business owner administratively. And what we found, if you're sitting in an office 8 hours a day, are you really getting 8 hours of productivity out of them? Usually not, So when our people sit down, maybe it's part-time and you just get 4 hours a day. That's 4 hours of focused work. That's an efficiency gain right there.
So, and it could even be anything from like the biz dev side of work. Like there's a lot of work that I do where it's a lot of reach out. It's a lot of biz dev. It's a lot of like inviting people on a podcast, for example, or things of that nature. We're starting to bring on people at MU that do that as well, and they do a fantastic job. But these are the types of things that I think it's very easy for a business owner to maybe not think of, or it's so ingrained in their day-to-day that it's something that you could step back and be like, okay, do I actually need to be doing this, or is this the highest and best use of my time? If the answer is maybe or no, maybe you can step back and investigate training up a VA to do that for you, and all about buying back your time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Sales support's a great example. There's so much tech out there. So Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, it's like, hey, here are my parameters of people that I'm trying to reach. You go take these parameters, build the list, go take the time to look through their profiles. Here are the things that I look for. And so instead of me spending hours doing it, somebody else does it so I can go focus on income producing activities or culture initiatives or whatever I want to spend my time on. And then they come to me with a list. Hey, here's the 10 best people I found for you to reach out to. And that saves an incredible amount of time and energy. And then I can hone in and I can our goal is let's delegate everything off of your plate that can be delegated. We want to be focusing in on our zone of genius. So it's the things we love doing or the things that no one else can do but me. Everything else, as we scale, we want to try to start delegating out. And that's what we are. We are a delegation business.
And you'll sit down and actually help a business owner identify what it is they need delegated. Because I can tell you as a business owner, there's a lot of times where I've done this before. I'll list out the things I need to do and I'll color code like, this is my job, this is my assistant's job, this is so-and-so's job, this is my Google guy's job, whoever it might be. But that's hard to do, especially if you're a business owner who maybe hasn't done it before, right?
It can be, and there's tools out there that can help you, but one of the key parts of our process is we sit down for that strategy session. And there, we're going to pull everything out of you. It's like, what are the things you need to take off your plate right away? But then what does that vacation look down the road when you've really taken all of this heavy stuff off your plate? And we're going to list it out. We're going to figure out what order to do it in and prioritize it for you. And then when it comes time to start doing that work, right, that's what we're looking at. This is the list we created. And we're looking for these kind of checkpoints along the way and seeing this efficiency and communication and traction happening as we monitor that relationship. So yeah, we are there to help pull that stuff out because some people are great delegators and some people are not. So some people need a little more pulling, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help through this relationship through the entire way and make sure that this person is having the maximum impact on your business as possible.
So how do you find the military spouses? This might sound like a dumb question, but how do you find the ones that are ready, willing, and able to work in a VA position? Or are they just banging down your door every day to come work with you guys?
Well, so far we haven't struggled to find the labor market. 21% unemployment rate, there's military members signing up every day. And we don't just hire military spouses. If someone is a good values fit for our organization, then we hire non-military families. But what we believe is we're best positioned to help the former version of ourselves. So we want to help the people that used to be us, and we see their struggles. People, you can't understand the challenges that people face unless you've walked in their shoes. So that's why we feel we're in a unique position. And although I don't feel like it, we're kind of looked at, me and my wife, as like the old crusty couple, veteran couple that made it to the other side. So that's why we went down that path. And there's a number of ways you can find military spouses. We haven't struggled. We have a very deep veteran network. We have relationships with nonprofits that help do placement, and we build relationships on post. The nice thing about the military, well, it's nice for me, not for everyone else, is when they buy thousands of acres and build these big bases, it's not in big populated, nice areas. It's usually out in the middle of nowhere. And when you have thousands of people competing for very few jobs in these rural areas like Louisiana, upstate New York, places in California, there's just such a demand for jobs. As long as you can get the smallest access to those folks, then we haven't had a problem bringing people in at all.
We'll be back right after this.
When you and I got married, our finances were all over the place.
But we came across Monarch Money, and that has been a game changer for us.
A big game changer.
Could you imagine if we had that from the beginning?
I'm the one who keeps track of the finances in our home, and this to me is just like, it is a sigh of relief.
Monarch is a top-rated, all-in-one personal finance app.
You get a comprehensive view of all your accounts, investments, transactions, and more. You can create custom budgets. You can track your progress toward financial goals. Plus, Monarch Money automates smart money moves to get you closer to your goals. And now get an extended 30-day free trial when you go to monarchmoney.com/MU.
The cool thing too is you can share your Monarch account with your partner, with your financial advisor, your accountant, or anyone else that's involved in your finances. You can also customize it to fit your needs. And there are no ads, and they never sell your data to third parties.
After trying Monarch for myself, I can understand why it's the top-rated personal finance app. And right now, listeners of this show will get an extended 30-day free trial when you go to monarchmoney.com/MU. That's monarchmoney.com/MU for your extended 30-day free trial.
Wonderful. So tell me about, let's go back to the early days of VA USA. You weren't necessarily, you're in the military. You didn't have a chance to be an entrepreneur for the longest time. What was it like physically building the company? I know it sounded like your wife met a gal who was a VA, kind of got hooked on it, started doing it for herself, started making money. Tell us about that snowball effect and maybe some of the trials and struggles that you might have faced when you were first building up this business way back when.
Yeah, I think what stops most people is fear of failure in the unknown, right? It's like the unknown can be very stifling. But I would say, based off the job that I was doing, like I'm not risk averse. I'm used to taking chances. I'm also used to taking calculated chances. But for us, I had a full-time, I was still in the military when we started. And when I first transitioned, I spent a year and a half working in a civilian job to cash flow this business. Now, I hear people out there, they're like, entrepreneur, you just got to go for it. Like roll the dice, put it all out there. I don't personally subscribe to that. If you are single with no dependents and you want to put it all on the line, that's fine. I could see that. But for us, it was like, we are going to make sure that our family is taken care of, and we're going to build this business along the way. So I continued to work to cash flow. My wife was putting in all the time. She is the true operator. And so that was a huge, it's such big stress relief. We saw the goal and we knew where we were going. And you obviously want to get there. Like I wanted to come home. I wanted the time freedom that this remote work gave us. That's, to us, our time is the most valuable asset. And that's what we were always chasing once we got a taste for it. Because the military controlled everything. It told me when I could go home, when I could get a haircut, when I could go outside of 50 miles. So once I got away from that lifestyle, it's like I want maximum time freedom. It's also one of the reasons that we homeschool our children. So that's something I would encourage folks to do. It's like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. If you have a job, let's build this thing on the side. I think it's Dave Ramsey talks about, like you build it and you get the boat a little closer to the dock so that you're not making this giant leap where you could fail and then your kids are moving homes. And so that was a relief that a lot of people are stressed about, I think, is the money. And we truly bootstrapped it. And bootstrapping a business is tough. I see why people take on investors because payroll's a bear. That was a constant challenge. It's like, how are we managing our payroll? Yes, we may not be making any money for a while, but I don't want to be losing money. And it's like, how do I get talented people in here doing great work, but I don't have much revenue to afford those roles? So for a while, it's like every other startup, lots of hats being worn. It takes a long time to get to the point where one person's really good at something and that's all they focus on. And to this day, my wife, especially Mary Lane, is wearing a lot more hats than we want her to. One of the smart things I believe we did is we run off of EOS. So EOS is a structure for how to run your business. And we got tied into that because some of the clients she was supporting at the very beginning were running off of EOS. She saw behind the curtain, saw that it was working. And for us, like, we're not going to recreate the wheel. We don't know how to build this business structure. So we're going to take a tried and true method that has been effective, and we're going to implement it within our business. So that implementation was huge for us. Joining a peer advisory group, getting around people who knew more than us that could prevent some of these pitfalls and that could give us sound wisdom was huge for us. And then a lot of the stress comes on financial management, and how you invoice can make a big difference. And one of these like really instrumental things that my wife figured out early on was, for a while, was like the assistant would work the hours and then we would send you an invoice for what they worked. But essentially you are fronting that money, paying the assistant before you get paid. So we turned it around. And so the way we invoice now is, on the first, I'm going to invoice you for your block of time. Let's say it's 60 hours. So all the money I'm going to pay that assistant that month, I get at the front end. So I'm not struggling with my cash flow from payroll to payroll. And that may not sound like a big deal, but there are a lot of businesses out there that make a lot of money and they go under because they can't manage their cash flow. There's too many accounts receivable out there or whatever it is. So that was a big hurdle that we overcame. But payroll and to this day, it's always a balancing act. Like we really have to keep an eye on that payroll to make sure we don't burn too hot internally, because it's very easy when people are hungry and motivated, they'll just go out there and get after it. And so that was always one of the biggest stressors for us. Another stressor and a lesson that we learned multiple times is, when you're young, you just want business, you want clients. And we have taken on a lot of bad clients over the years. And it's hard to have that forward-thinking perspective of, hey, if I turn this person away, it's actually a good thing in the end, because bad clients, just like bad hires, will end up costing you money. It can also hurt your reputation when you don't deliver to their standard. So we took on a lot of clients that we just wouldn't take on today. And it's not a dig at them. It's just they don't fit the model that we found to work. An example of that is we don't take on people who need 20 hours a month. And there's a ton of people like that out there. That just doesn't fit my model. So those are a few things, and I hope that answers your question. And dig in all you want. It's just nonstop. You solve a problem and a new one pops its head back up. And it's just never ending problem solving.
Right. And that's what entrepreneurs are at the end of the day. We're problem solvers, right?
Absolutely.
It's something where it's going to be something new nearly every day, depending on what business you're in, but nearly every day. And if you're not there to solve it, it's not going to get solved. But one of the things you touched on is your cash flow and your pricing. And I wanted to ask you, how did you figure out how to price yourself out? And then how are you guys doing it now? Mentioning you switched from arrears to charging up front, which makes way more sense. That's what I do in my marketing agency. We charge up front. That's just part of the gig, and nobody says boo, because we're not going to get in the business of chasing down invoices or getting in discrepancies or disputes or any of that. That is a huge boon to cash flow. But how did you guys learn how to price yourselves, and what lessons did you learn from the original pricing you set to where you guys are at today?
You know, it was tough. So in 2018, there were virtual assistant businesses out there, and most people have heard of, say, Belay. They're the market share owner. But there wasn't a lot out there. There wasn't studies. You couldn't go out there and see what's the average assistant making and what are the companies charging and what are good margins for that company. So we, like most people, undercharged. It's hard in the beginning when you just don't know your value yet. It's hard to charge the value that you should be. And that is something I would encourage anyone that's new in business is, don't undervalue yourself. And yes, there may be a period where you need some proof of concept and you need some reviews and you need some fans. So we looked around at what other companies were charging, and we looked around at what we needed to pay people. And now that's gone up. We charge more because we've gotten better. And then we also pay our people more. It can be tricky too in these inflationary times these past few years. You have to watch your cash flow, but you also have to attract the right talent. And if you are paying bottom of the barrel, then you may be getting bottom of the barrel type of folks. So we try to pay our people competitively. And what we found is that we are not going to compete with other businesses on price. Our industry is unique because it runs the gamut. You can hire someone out of the Philippines. I don't know what they're charging now, $10, $15 an hour, all the way up to some of these other companies like us and Belay. And I think I saw Squared Away is charging $50 to $55 an hour. So they'd be at the very top of our industry. So, there's such a big difference between what's out there. And what I have learned in business is I'm not going to compete on price, right? You can either try to be better or you can try to be cheaper. I'm not going to try to be cheaper. I just don't think it's a great route in our industry. And at the same time, I want to charge top dollar because there's all those initiatives that I talked about that we pour back into our people, they get funded through our margin, no mission. And we are a mission-oriented organization. So it's just kind of been feeling our way through it and taking a close look at our cash flow and then looking at what other businesses are doing around us. And you kind of get feedback as you do it. It's like when people exit or don't take your service or people don't want to work for your company, it's like, well, why? Why did you leave? And the financial struggles, this, that. Then you just start adjusting and tweaking. But just because one person can't afford it and they seem like a good client doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of clients out there for you that can afford your services. And for us, I'm not trying to be the next Belay. I'm not trying to be this massive company. And if it's God's will and we blow up like that, but I want to control the quality of our service. And that's one of the hardest things to do as you're growing when you are this small boutique business. As you scale, it's like, how do I control that quality of service? Because eventually the client doesn't get to talk to the owner every time they have a problem, right? Eventually we start scaling and building teams around us. So how do I maintain that small boutique feel, giving a great customer service as I'm scaling? And that's a balancing act. It really is.
Yeah, I believe it. So I want to talk, you mentioned a couple different M's. You have mission, and then I'm throwing one in there, marketing. So I will get to that mission a little bit, but I want to know about how, especially at the beginning, it sounded like it was all bootstrapped and possibly through referrals. But how do you use certain tech or tools to find those types of business owners who are looking for help? Or you guys, possibly at this point, you're so well known that people find you and they're banging on your door. But especially when you're starting out, how did you guys hang your flag out on the pole and say, hey, we're open for business and this is the type of help we provide?
Yeah, at the very beginning, we are still almost all referral based. So we are no example of how to run marketing to grow your company. And marketing can be expensive. And so that's one of those things you better be getting a return on your investment. Mm-hmm. But we learned lessons. In the beginning, it was like, I always heard it's like dominate your region and then start working your way out. So we just started grinding in this city of Savannah, and it was like going to small business luncheons and the B&Is and all these different places where possible clients could be. Unfortunately, Savannah wasn't a good market for us. This remote concept was even more foreign to businesses here than they are other places.
Really?
Yeah. I don't want to put any stereotypes on the South, but things happen a little slower down here, And so it was like, hey, how do we get our name out there? How do we meet people? Then we turn to our tribe. We turn to there's a lot of veterans out there that are entrepreneurs. There's business conferences. And so that was the route we took. We started going to these conferences and just meeting people and telling our story. People seem to resonate with our story. And it is kind of, an American story. It's a service member and a teacher start a business, and we believe in our mission. And as long as we could find people who believed in our mission as well, we thought that we could continue to spread the word on what we were doing. And that's what it's been. It's been trying to get in front of the right audience. So determining what the avatar you're chasing is big, right? For us, for a long time, we're like, we got to find this niche because niches make it easier to market and identify what you're looking for. We never hit that specific niche. We're not like virtual assistant company of construction industry. But peer advisory groups are a great example. We're a part of one, but we do business networking. We have good connections with people because it's full of potential clients. As soon as you can identify who your potential clients are, you just figure out where they're hanging out. But we don't do a lot of marketing. I'm not paying for marketing. We are doing a lot of business development, and I am starting to do podcasts this year. This isn't something that I was excited about. Like the last thing I want to do is be in some sort of spotlight. It's just not for me. I'd rather be quietly behind the scenes, just driving our mission forward. But it's like podcasts are a great avenue. I get to tell my story one time and many people hear it. Mm-hmm. And so we're hoping that kind of has some compounding effect. And as we started gaining a little more money, we sponsor some of these business conferences that have our ideal clients. But we have been very organic in everything that we've done. And I'm sure we will spend more money into more of a marketing machine in the future, but so far it hasn't been necessary. And maybe I have a limited mindset of what growth could be. I don't know. Some people would probably be like, that's crazy, but I love getting referrals from people who have been happy clients and that are passionate about what we do.
Well, and here's the thing. When you have your ideal client as the majority of your client book, referrals are naturally going to come, and a good person is going to refer a good person 99% of the time, right? And that goes back to what you mentioned earlier in the show here of you made a lot of mistakes in the beginning hiring the wrong clients. They weren't the right fit. They didn't share your values and share the mission, and they didn't work out, right? But I'll bet you maybe one or two of those people at a minimum may have referred somebody to you, and they possibly were just as bad as the first one. And
Yeah, and it was very much the 80-20 rule. We looked like, hey, here's our clients, and like 20% of them are producing 80% of the value. I have a few clients that are spending 100 hours with us a month, and then I have a bunch of clients that are spending 20 hours a month. It's like, well, I would rather have 100 of them than 500 of these other people, and we would make the same amount of money with less people within the business. And that's when we honed in. Let's hone in on this group. And so these other groups started falling away, and we just stopped taking them on. And you're right, because when you hit the right audience, generally they have friends that are the right audience. And then you just have to try to capitalize on there. And we do an incentive program for referrals. So the way our program works is, let's say you're a client of mine, right? And we charge you monthly. So if you bring me a client, as long as they remain a paying client, I'm going to comp you 2 free hours off your bill every single month. So if they stay with us for 2 years and you're with me for 2 years, that's 2 years every month I'm comping you. And then we pay your assistant, because only if your assistant does a good job are you going to refer someone to me. We pay them a monthly bonus. So it's not a one-time fee, thank you. It is something that continues with you. And then you get 10 referrals with me, and now you're saving a lot of money.
Yeah. And this brought to mind a question. I kind of want to talk about how the benefits of a military spouse working directly with VA USA versus doing the full freelance mode. What type of hurdles and obstacles does working with you guys right off the rip prevent that military spouse from having to do on their own?
Yeah, first is finding a client. That's not as easy as it seems. Some people think, I could just go anywhere and find a client. So one, not only are we finding clients for you, we're vetting our clients. They know these are the types of people that we're looking for. We're looking for values alignment. I'm not going to place my people with someone who treats them poorly. And if I find out a client's treating one of my people poorly, then I'll fire that client. All right. So one, we're doing that whole leg of it. We're doing for them. And then there's all the continued support, right? So we have coaching program, and we're doing weekly meetings where they can come in and learn things. They have all of these people are in their community that have been doing this work. And say, I have a construction client and I am challenged by this thing. I have this hurdle. Well, here's another person that's doing the same role as you. Let's collaborate. Let's figure out how we can best support these people. So it is very much the entire community. And then one of the big ones, for example, is maternity. We have a lot of babies in this company. And so when you go out and have a baby, we have an entire system set up. So where you have created your SOPs for that client, we're going to bring in temporary support for that client. And when you're ready to come back, then you start phasing back in. That client never loses support and your job remains. So we try to, once again, that community piece is all the way around. We are here to support them in their job, outside their job, in their marriage, in their personal life. So that's a big piece of it. The freelance world can be tough and you have no idea what you're taking on.
Yeah, it's really kind of taking a shortcut, right? Like perhaps you're a military spouse and you're considering this route and all the things that go into getting that set up, especially on top of the responsibilities they have, managing the household, possibly children if they have children. There is a lot that goes on there, and to build your own freelance, while it's not the worst thing in the world, it is still a lot of time-consuming information gathering, doing the thing that if you haven't done it before, there's that added hurdle. So it makes a lot more sense to be able to work with a team that has the front end all established.
Yeah, it does. And then, it's like if they need another client, then you just raise your hand and say, I need another client. And all of a sudden they're being interviewed. And so I want military spouses to find work wherever they can. And I can't hire them all. I wish I could. And freelance is a great option. And there's plenty of them out there on Etsy and entrepreneurship type endeavors. But, for a lot of people, wading through the freelance world, going on these job boards, working with clients you don't really know, that stuff's not that appealing to them. And we would rather take that off their plate, the ones that want to, and then we try to love and support them the best we can.
I love it. And there's one thing in our remaining time here, I'd like to focus a little bit and turn the conversation a little bit more towards entrepreneurship and veterans. Obviously, you have both experiences to a T here. Can you explain for us the difficulties, for those of us who haven't served, the difficulties of going and serving your country and coming home, and we hear statistics on veteran suicide or, like you said, unemployment, or just general feelings of not knowing what to do because you've been living a very specific lifestyle, a very directed lifestyle for however many years. What can you share with us about maybe cracking the code on entrepreneurship for veterans that are coming back from serving?
Yeah, so veterans experience their humanity issues, right? It's what is my identity? What is my purpose? It's things that we all wrestle with, but it seems to hit the veteran community harder than a lot of people. And once again, a lot of the problems are exacerbated. One is just the struggles with marriage and parenting and being gone all the time and the families fracturing. If you're coming out of a bad divorce into the civilian world, which so many guys are, like, that's already tough. That's a heavy thing to be carrying around. But a few things that I've identified is our self-identity is so wrapped up into our job. And it's a very unhealthy psychological place to be. You know, it's like if I identify like I'm a ranger, if that's my self-identity, and then when I lose that, it destroys me. So, and it's tough. It's tough not to identify with something that's such a big part of your life. And it's such a strong bond and camaraderie. And then all of a sudden, like that, it's gone. You're outside the gate looking in. So people really struggle with this self-identity. And I think one of the pitfalls is that they want to attach that lack of identity to a new job. Now, we spend a lot of time working, and our work should have purpose, and it is a part of who we are. But I am not my job. My job is a part of who I am. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a friend. I'm a community member. I'm a Christian. All of these are different facets of who I am. And if we don't look at ourselves that way, if we just look at ourselves like, I just got to find that next job, we're going to be searching for something that we're never going to find. And it's very hard to find a job that is going to scratch all of the itches that military lifestyle had. And I think it's a tough task. So one, we're struggling with this self-identity. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter what rank you are in the military, there is always higher guidance coming down. Somebody is giving you the target, the objective that you're striving to achieve. Now, when you give my people a target or an objective, they are unbelievable planners. They'll plan 6 different contingencies on how to get there and think of every single situation. But they're always getting a target. When you get out, no one sets that target for you. You have to set it for yourself. And that is very different than having targets set for you. And then it's like, okay, well, what do I want to do with my life? I can do anything. Well, man, that's an overwhelming amount of different options. It's staggering. And then people get caught up on, it's like, well, I was a gunfighter, so obviously I can only be a cop or I can only be a contractor. It's like, we can't just think about our hard skills. You're just trying to relate your gun skills. It's like, what about your leadership, your management, your supervision, all of these things that you have learned along the way? Because the military is the greatest and worst leadership petri dish out there. You see the absolute best and you see the absolute worst. But it is a real education. And when you manage people, you are managing them at every level. Room inspections. What are they eating? I mean, the works. So it's like, how are we taking those lessons that we've learned and we're applying them when we get out? And for a lot of guys, they're like, I can't find a job. It's like, if nothing else, if you just go to employers and you say, I'm a fast learner. I always show up on time. I know how to work in a team environment. I know how to manage people. It's like, I'll just stop right there. Like, go say that to 50 employers. Tell me you can't get a job. Because they are searching for people who can work in a team environment and accomplish a common goal. And that is what they've been doing for a long time. Now, I think entrepreneurship is a great route for military members, but I think a lot of them don't think about it. And some of the things I suggest are, one, you don't have to have an invention to be a business owner. You can do the same thing other people are doing, just do it cheaper or better. I usually advise to do it the better route. But there's also all kinds of opportunities with franchises, right? It's a business in a box. It's a way to run a business, but have all of these things structured for you. Or you can go to, there's businesses for sale. There's brokers out there where you can step into an established business that has an established salary for your position. You can get lending easily from a bank for it. So there's multiple ways to get your foot in the door of entrepreneurship. And there's a lot of fear, I think, for folks because they're afraid they're going to fail, which is interesting to me because I'll talk to guys, the special operations community. It's like, Hey man, when you chose to go be a ranger, did you have any experience in it? No. What were the odds of you succeeding? It's like 0.01%. Like, but that didn't stop you. That did not stop you from going and pursuing and becoming successful in it. So you have to take that same mentality that made you successful there and use it in your civilian life. Because you don't know a few things. We're in the greatest time alive to not know many things because technology has put everything at our fingertips. But we have to keep an open mind about it. And I think another thing that can stop people, it's like, well, I have a virtual assistant business. There is nothing about being a virtual assistant that interests me. I need one, like I need them bad, like ADD, visionary, all over the place, right? But I'm not passionate about that work. But I am super passionate about our business because our business has a greater purpose. It has a greater mission. It has a why for Simon Sinek, right? Start with your why. This company started with, we're going to make an impact on these people. The business is just the vehicle for doing that. And so I can be extremely passionate about business without being passionate about the exact service of that work, if that makes sense. And I think we get too caught up in that because I believe that every single business owner that has people working in it is in a unique position to make a positive impact on the people around them. If you have people around you, you can make an impact. And what I have seen is in my own life is when I try to help people around me, which I didn't do, I lived for 30 years of my life, for the most part, I lived for myself. And when I flipped that and I started truly trying to help people around me, it gave me a new purpose that I had never experienced before. And I believe that trying to have a positive impact on people brings true joy and contentment to every single person. And I think the number one thing for service members when they're transitioning that they're missing is how are you serving other human beings? Because if you want your cup filled, then go fill somebody else's. And if we took that approach in business, that yes, I want to create a great product. Yes, I want to create a great service, but these people, this organization is mine to steward, and I'm going to have a positive impact on those human beings. That's all the purpose you're going to need in life. And it doesn't matter what your widget and your service or your product is. You are in the business of providing something and taking care of people. And I hope that more businesses will take that approach because young people out there are searching for purpose and veterans are searching for purpose. And if they had more purpose, 22 veterans a day wouldn't be killing themselves. And I personally believe that if you take those same 22 veterans and you put them all in a situation where they could serve other human beings, you would not see nearly the amount of suicides. And I kind of went off on a tangent there, but yes, I think veterans are perfectly suited for entrepreneurship. But we have to keep an open mind to it. We have to really identify what are the opportunities out there. And you don't need an MBA to do a business. I barely have a high school diploma. Create a compelling vision for your business and start. Go execute. You're not going to have all the answers. You're going to fail. Go do it anyway. There are people around you. There are angels everywhere that will pour into you, that will give you advice. But you have to create the compelling vision and you have to have the grit to push through the hard times. And let me tell you, in my experience, it's hard to push through tough things if you don't have a driving purpose. If you gave me this business and you said, here's your business, it's going to be hard, but you'll make a lot of money, I wouldn't get out of the bed for that. I need to fight for something. I need a cause. I need people to fight for. That's what gets me out of bed. That's why I do hard things. That's why we suffer through the failures of business. It's not just because I want to make money. It's not just because I want time freedom for my family and myself. It's because I'm doing it for the people that serve within us, serve within this organization. And those people happen to be silently serving this country, supporting their service members who are deployed and training every day, and nobody thanks them. Nobody cares about the sacrifices they're making, but we do when we see them, and we're going to make a difference. At least that's what we're striving to do. And I believe we should be striving for hard things. We are goal-oriented. Set a hard goal for yourself and go after it. That's a life well lived. But if you don't write that narrative for yourself, it will be written for you. And you will wind up 40 years down the road and be like, where did the last 40 years go? I want to be in control of that narrative.
Have a mission, take action, right?
Absolutely.
That's one thing when you get into your old age and you look back, if you found a mission, you took action, you found your purpose, you're probably going to look back and not have many regrets.
I think so. I mean, it's like everything else. It's about the journey. It's not about getting to the end point. It's not about the exit. Or it's not about, I got this business to the place where I can just go sit on a beach forever. The beach it's the pursuit of the beach that brings all the joy and the fun and the tears. It's not the sitting on the beach, which, by the way, I don't think that's a good plan for anyone, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's about the journey. It's about the learning. And there is no greater way to learn than to go out there and try and fail. Failure is feedback. It's one of my values. That's how I learn. I learn by failing and trying and failing and trying.
Yep. And I know that here at MU, Justin Williams, he'll always say, fail forward. Just keep failing, because failing isn't true failure. It's learning what didn't work or what might not have worked. And now you can continue moving forward and taking educated action.
Yeah. And mindset is almost everything in life, right? It's how do we perceive what's going on around us? If you're a victim and I fail and I sit and I wallow in it, then you're never going to be very successful. You're never going to continue to move the bar, because we are capable of so much more. But if you take a failure and you're humble about it and you figure out, how did I fail? What did I learn out of this? Okay, I'm going to apply that lesson learned and I'm going to keep driving. That is the key. So many people let 3-foot walls stop them. You just got to keep pushing through it. You're not going to have all the answers. You're going to mess up. And for people out there that are thinking about starting a business and they think that business owners are just a bunch of geniuses, like, no, we're just a bunch of dumb people figuring out just like everybody else.
That's right.
The difference is we're not afraid to fail and we'll take action.
Right. And it comes down to, there's a daily choice. And I share this with my kids too, whenever they're getting a little whiny or cry. So are you going to be the victim or are you going to be the victor? And you have that option, not just as a 5-year-old, but as a 30-year-old or 40-year-old, however old you are, starting a business. When bad things happen, you have the choice to become a victim and wallow in your self-pity, or you can become the victor and figure out how to bust through that wall, whether it's 10 feet high or 3 feet high.
Absolutely.
And it's all about your mindset.
And it's a terrible tragedy, because in society right now, we're breeding a bunch of victims. We're breeding a victim mindset. And it is the scariest thing to have a bunch of people who think they're victims. Because look, life is tough. Hard things are going to happen to you, but we were built to do hard things. And when those bad things happen, whether it's self-induced or it has nothing to do with you, you have two options. You can sit there and be a victim, or you can keep driving forward. And we all know the great, successful people on every level and every aspect of society are the people that continue to move forward, that take it on the chin and learn the lesson and keep moving forward.
Well, Brett, I can say you have me ready to run through a brick wall. That's for darn sure. I want to make sure I honor your time here as we get up against the bottom of the hour here. But these are incredible messages, and I hope our MU listeners out there, I know you're all taking this to heart. We started the conversation talking about VA USA and being a business, but I think we ended in an even more powerful way where entrepreneurship and mindset, whether you're a civilian, a veteran, or a business owner, they all crisscross. It's all about how you're going to attack the day, attack the task, and handle your mission. And Brett, I could not have put it in better words and better terms than you did.
I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate what you're doing, right? Because these platforms are important. It's important for people out there to hear the different messages that you're bringing, because you are not alone. You're not alone in your fear. Everyone is afraid of things. Courage is facing that fear and continuing to drive on. And if you believe that you have an idea for a business, then go execute. What's the worst that happens is you fail. At least you tried. The last thing I want to do is look back on my life and be like, man, wish I had tried to do that. Wish I had pursued that dream.
Yep, I love it. Well, Brett, I want to make sure our listeners are able to get in contact with you, whether they're interested in VA USA and having some more help in their business. I'm sure there are plenty of our listeners who could use assistance in that area, as we have a lot of early stage entrepreneurs in our viewership. But also, perhaps if you're a military veteran, or if you're struggling, or if you realize how cool Brett is, you want to reach out and contact him. Brett, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so to learn about our company, you can go to our website. It's HireVAUSA.com. And then I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not on any other social media intentionally. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but I do have a LinkedIn. You can find me on there. And yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you letting me share a little bit about our story.
Well, and I appreciate you coming on and joining us, sharing your story, sharing your knowledge, and sharing your inspiration. And as always, I very much appreciate, and I'm sure our listeners appreciate, the service and the sacrifice you made for your country.
I appreciate it, brother.
All right, wonderful. Well, we will catch you later, man. This was a pleasure. You have yourself a great day.
You too.
All right, big round of applause for Brett. Like I said at the end of the episode, I think I'm ready to run through a brick wall. and follow Brett into any battle in the world of entrepreneurship, because the mindset shifts that he discussed, the things that are so common amongst us entrepreneurs and possibly blocking us and blocking what we want to do, it's all done by us. It's in our heads. So Brett shared so much insight and encouragement and inspiration on taking action, doing the thing, and pressing forward even when it's tough or even when you feel like you're failing. So thank you to Brett for joining us, man. It was a pleasure to understand more about what VA USA does, the work that VAs do for various types of businesses, and I think there's just all sorts of great knowledge that we were able to collect today. So as we round out this episode of the Millionaire University podcast, I have but two requests of you, our loyal listeners. A, if you're feeling froggy and you love this episode, go ahead and hit the link to share and maybe send a text to your best friend or your business partner or whoever in your sphere you think might enjoy listening to this episode as well. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit up millionaireuniversity.com/training and pick up your free business course. If you have not yet started your business, this is the perfect thing to sit down, check out, and understand exactly what you need to get ready and take that leap off the deep end and straight into entrepreneurship. All right, folks, that's it for me, Brien Gearin, signing off, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode of the Millionaire University podcast. I hope you all go out and crush it today.